Hi folks, and welcome to today's video, which as you can see is on Dog E, and I'm making this video in response to a comment that I got. I got asked a very interesting question. Somebody asked, are the wheels driven? How does it move along? And we hadn't really thought about it, have we, Paul?
No. In fact, I'd assumed that automatically the wheels were driven, but I was curious as to why it only went forward.
So we had an examination of it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we found that the wheels are not driven.
That's right. So, yeah, these wheels are not being driven. So, yeah, you can tell they're not being driven. You can feel they're not being driven.
So the wheels are not driven.
The wheels are not driven, that's right.
How it's actually moving along is by a motor that is driving the hips.
Yeah, and also the shoulders as well. I think the front shoulders were moving, weren't they?
Oh,
should we just watch
so
that?
it drives both the back legs and the front legs.
Shall we watch that again and see what happens?
Yeah. Yeah, they are, aren't they? They're both driven.
Yeah. They're also slightly off centre, like an eccentric cam arrangement. Can you see it?
Yeah.
And it motors along quite nicely. In fact, it's got a really nice action going forward.
Yeah.
With that motion on the hips and the shoulders. And also these wheels, if you notice, they are very grippy, the rubber, and they only go one way. They'll allow the dog to go forward,
but not
backwards, and they're all like that. If you try to make them go this way, which would be making the dog go backwards, they lock up, all four of them. It's the fact that those very grippy rubber wheels lock up, and the motion of the shoulder and the hips on that slightly eccentric cam action, which is driving the dog forward in that really nice way.
It's very much toy design, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
But it's like, in my opinion, it's toy design at its best.
It is, yeah.
And we noticed something else, didn't we? That when it's running, the tail doesn't wag.
That's right, yeah.
So it can only wag its tail or drive those four legs.
And that's probably not the way they programmed it. It's more to do with the limitation of the fact that there's only one motor. It's either driving the legs and making the dog go forward,
yes,
or it's wagging the tail and it's engaged in either one or the other, mechanically engaged.
Yes, because it's like mechanical programming.
Yeah, as you say, it's like toy design, isn't it? This is the way toy designers make things rather than robots or model designers make things.
There's also some movement with the head, isn't there?
The head's very nicely fixed to the dog. It's very nicely balanced. It'll stay in the back position or the down position when I push it, and it's, there's a very fine balance to it, so that's nicely done. And it's also got this side to side,
like wobble. Yeah,
and a slightly wobbly movement. And when you push the head down,
oh yes,
you can see the tongue comes out.
Yeah, so that's like another movement.
Mechanical linkage, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the way they get the tongue to come out, by making the head go down, driving it down somehow with a motor.
I think that's really clever.
And also, if you grab hold of the tongue when it's in the down position and you move the head back, it really does.
Back.
It's very strong force pulling the tongue back into the mouth. So more toy design there. The tongue and the head movement are linked together, and the motor probably just drives the head, doesn't it, to make the tongue come out.
That's right. Yeah, there's no sort of electronics needed to make that tongue go in and out. That's a nice joint there. Is it like a semi-ball joint, or?
I wouldn't say it's a ball joint, but it's pivoted in two places. You can see there's like the neck there, and the head's pivoted there, but this neck itself also moves back and forwards. I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe there is a sort of semi-ball joint movement to part of the neck joint. It's quite a complex joint, isn't it?
Mm.
It certainly adds a lot to the dog. So the
I think I've just moved.
tongue's in
No.
at the moment, isn't it?
There, it's moving its head now.
Right, so the motor's driving the head down and the tongue's automatically coming out. And because it stayed down, the tongue's out as well. So, yeah, stroke it again.
That's interesting. So it can move its head and wag its tail at the same time.
I don't know. I think it moved its head backward before it started wagging its tail. See, I think the head went forward again. The tongue came out, and then the tail started wagging.
But because I don't know.
No, maybe it can do both at the same time. Maybe. Yeah, I think there might be two motors. One for the tail, and then one for the legs and the head. Get engaged differently, mechanically at the right time. It's difficult to say, really. I mean, this is this is the art of the toy designer, isn't it?
Yeah.
They use one or two motors, and they have all this mechanical linkage stuff, and it puts together this nice choreography. And it's difficult without taking it apart to say what's going on with the motors. Yeah. Well, they always make it look more complicated.
They do.
Than it is. You think, there must be several motors in there, but you take it apart, and there's generally only a maximum of two.
It's really clever what they do with the linkages, isn't it?
I see the tongue's halfway out now. It's like
because the head's halfway up.
Yeah, the mid position. Yeah.
So let's see if we can gauge whether the head's moving when the motor's driving the legs.
Okay.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it looks like it's just the legs moving there. Yeah, the head was moving because it was wobbling rather than being driven when it was running across there. So the main discovery here, and that was from a viewer's question, is wheels are not driven by motor.
Look at that, how it goes forward like that. Just that seemed to be just the fact that the tail was wagging. It was sort of forcing it forward. Don't know if that's like accidental in the design or not. That was an interesting motor noise. So that pretty much concludes this video on the movement of Dog E. I think it's really clever what they've done with it. They've got an awful lot of movement there.
And nice.
And very sort of flowing.
Yeah.
And really interesting, the wobble on the head as well, and that's combined with actually the movement of the head that's being driven by a motor.
Yeah.
And how because of the gait it's got that wobble in the head that makes it look like it's purposely moving the head.
Very effective, isn't it?
And of course the tongue that's like purely mechanical. Brilliant.
Yeah, as you say, good toy design.
So thanks again to the person who asked that really interesting question. Hope you found that entertaining and useful to some degree. Thanks for watching as always, and hope to see you next time.